The dihydrogen monoxide parody involves calling water by the unfamiliar chemical name dihydrogen monoxide, DHMO, or hydroxylic acid in some cases, and listing some of water's well-known effects in a particularly alarming manner, such as accelerating corrosion and causing suffocation. The parody often calls for dihydrogen monoxide to be banned, regulated, or labeled as dangerous. It illustrates how a lack of scientific literacy and an exaggerated analysis can lead to misplaced fears. A 1983 April Fool's Day edition of the Durand Express, a weekly newspaper in Durand, Michigan, reported that dihydrogen oxide had been found in the city's water pipes, and warned that it was fatal if inhaled, and could produce blustering vapors. The first appearance of the parody on the internet was attributed by the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette to the so-called Coalition to Ban Dihydrogen Monoxide, a parody organization at UC Santa Cruz following on-campus postings and newsgroup discussions in 1990. This new version of the parody was created by housemates while attending the University of California, Santa Cruz in 1989 to 1990, revised by Craig Jackson in 1994, and brought to widespread public attention in 1997 when Nathan Zahner, a 14-year-old student, gathered petitions to ban DHMO as the basis of his science project, titled How Gullible Are We? Jackson's original site included the following warning. A mock material safety datasheet has also been created for H2O. The water molecule has the chemical formula H2O, meaning each molecule of water is composed of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Literally, the term dihydrogen monoxide means 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen, the prefix D in dihydrogen means 2, the prefix mon in monoxide means 1, and an oxide is an oxygen atom attached to another atom in an ionic compound. Using chemical nomenclature, various names for water are in common use within the scientific community. Some such names include hydrogen oxide, as well as an alkali name of hydrogen hydroxide, and several acid names such as hydric acid, hydroxyl acid, hydrohydroxic acid, and hydroxylic acid. The term hydroxyl acid used in the original text is a non-standard name. Under the 2005 revisions of UPAC nomenclature of inorganic chemistry, there is no single correct name for every compound. The primary function of chemical nomenclature is to ensure that each name refers, unambiguously, to a single substance. It is considered less important to ensure that each substance should have a single unambiguous name, although the number of acceptable names is limited. Water is one acceptable name for this compound, even though it is neither a systematic nor an international name and is specific to just one phase of the compound, its liquid form. The other UPAC recommendation is oxidane, which is used by hoax industry groups promoting DHMO as a safe industrial chemical while hinting at dangers in government conspiracies. In 1989 to 1990, several students circulated a dihydrogen monoxide contamination warning on the University of California, Santa Cruz, campus via photocopied flyers. In 1994, Craig Jackson created a webpage for the Coalition to Ban DHMO. The Friends of Hydrogen Hydroxide website was created by Dan Curtis Johnson, partly as a foil on the Coalition page, claiming to oppose its subversive agenda. The site points out that hydrogen hydroxide is environmentally safe and enhances the functionality, growth, and health of many forms of life. In 1997, Nathan Zahner, a 14-year-old student at Eagle Rock Junior High School in Idaho Falls, Idaho, gathered 43 votes to ban the chemical, out of 50 ninth graders surveyed. Zahner received the first prize at Greater Idaho Falls Science Fair for analysis of the results of his survey. In recognition of his experiment, journalist James K. Glassman coined the term Zahnerism to refer to the use of a true fact to lead a scientifically and mathematically ignorant public to a false conclusion. In late 1997, drawing inspiration from Jackson's webpage and Zahner's research, Tom Way created a website at dhmo.org, including links to some legitimate sites such as the Environmental Protection Agency and National Institutes of Health. On April 1, 1998, April Fool's Day, a member of the Australian Parliament announced a campaign to ban dihydrogen monoxide internationally. In 2001, a staffer in New Zealand Green Party MP Sue Kedgley's office responded to a request for support for a campaign to ban dihydrogen monoxide by saying she was absolutely supportive of the campaign to ban this toxic substance. This was criticized in a press release by the National Party, one of whose MPs fell for the very same joke 6 years later. In 2002, radio talk show host Neil Burtz mentioned on the air that the Atlanta water system had been checked and found to be contaminated with dihydrogen monoxide, and set about relating the hazards associated with that dangerous chemical. A local TV station even covered the scandal. A spokesperson for the city's water system told the reporter that there was no more dihydrogen monoxide in the system than what was allowed under the law. The idea was used for a segment of an episode of the Penn and Teller show Penn and Teller, Bullshit, in which actress Chris McGaha and a camera crew gathered signatures from people considering themselves concerned environmentalists to sign a petition to ban DHMO. In March 2004, Aliso Viejo, California, almost considered banning the use of foam containers at city-sponsored events because dihydrogen monoxide is part of their production. A paralegal had asked the city council to put it on the agenda. He later attributed it to poor research. The bill was pulled from the agenda before it could come to a vote, but not before the city received a raft of bad publicity. In 2006, in Louisville, Kentucky, David Karam, executive director of the Waterfront Development Corporation, a public body that operates Waterfront Park, wished to deter bathers from using a large public fountain. Counting on a lack of understanding about water's chemical makeup, he arranged for signs reading, "Danger. Water contains high levels of hydrogen, keep out," to be posted on the fountain at public expense. Occasionally, petitions on the UK government e-petitions website on this subject have been closed or rejected. In 2007, Jackie Dean, New Zealand National Party MP, fell for the joke, writing a letter to Associate Minister of Health Jim Anderton asking, does the Expert Advisory Committee on Drugs have a view on the banning of this drug? On April 1, 2009, a Canadian Conservative Member of Parliament, Andrew Scheer, used the DHMO parody as the basis for an April Fool's Day media release on his website, in which he claimed to have presented a bill to ban the substance from all federal government buildings. In February 2011, during the campaign of the Finnish parliamentary election, a voting advice application asked the candidates whether the availability of hydric acid, also known as dihydrogen monoxide, should be restricted. 49% of the candidates answered in favor of the restriction. In April 2013, two radio personalities at Gator Country 101.9, a station in Lee County, Florida, told listeners that dihydrogen monoxide was coming out of their water taps as part of an April Fool's Day prank and were suspended for a few days. The prank resulted in several calls by consumers to the local utility company, which sent out a release stating that the water was safe. Chemophobia. Sense and reference.